Welcome to the 2020 BrewTubers Online Brewers Club Yeast Experiment. Brought to you by our proud sponsors. Imperial Yeast, a half stainless steel mash paddle sponsor of the BrewTubers Online Brewers Club, an official yeast provider of the Yeast Experiment. Imperial Yeast offers brewers of all sizes access to world-class yeast and the best possible customer and technical support. Be sure to grab a pack or two now at your local homebrew shop or Woody's Homebrew. And lastly, Hopsteiner, the official hops provider of the 2020 Yeast Experiment. Get brewing.
What's going on, guys? Nick Lesagore here, Exit 12 Brewery, in the house, as I try to fit my head underneath the screen there. We're in close quarters. So, as we explained in our last video, Brandon and I, because of coronavirus concerns, as well as other family responsibilities and whatnot, it's a weird time right now, so him and I made the executive decision to break up the beer reviews for the Yeast Experiment 2020. It's something that's unfortunate for both of us. Neither one of us is very happy about it, but unfortunately, because of, as I mentioned, just current concerns societally, as well as in terms of health and things like that, it's better off for us to break up the reviews. So my first review, doing this solo, is from Jerry Scoppa. Boom. Boom. Jerry utilized for the Yeast Experiment, as you all know, if I could just relay it real quick, is that we all brewed the same beer, the same brewing salts, everything else. The only thing that was different was the yeast. He utilized Berserker from Maniacal. I wish Jerry put his name on it. I knew it was Jerry because of the group chat we're in, and that it's he utilized Berserker. So it was brewed on February 8th, kegged on the 13th, bottled on the 26th. So it's just under 2.5, 3 weeks old or so. So we're going to crack this open. Jerry has a YouTube channel. I love the green cap. I'm sure he didn't mean to do this, but St. Patrick's Day, what's up? Just passed. Jerry has a YouTube channel called Adventures in Homebrewing. It's actually called Brewmaster Jerry, but the name of his website is called Adventures in Homebrewing. So I know we bottled off of the keg, so all the kids in the pool. And the cool thing about Jerry that I was really intrigued with is that Jerry, when he bottled off of the keg, he didn't utilize any type of gun in order to kind of fill this bottle with CO2 or anything like that. This bottle does say "Love Beer, Love Life." I don't know where he got the bottles from. I don't even know if you can see that. That's pretty cool. Anyway, he had a really conventional way to bottle the beer, so I was just wondering if it would be adequately carbonated. Looks like it is. The Berserker yeast, I looked it up. I did some research. Brandon and I have utilized Manical yeast quite a bit. He fermented with Berserker at 90 degrees. It's 7.09% ABV, OG066, FG012, and I will put that at the bottom of the screen there. So his ABV was a little bit higher than some of the others, including Brandon and I's. The beer itself is cloudy. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can see anything through that. I certainly can't. Maybe a little shadow. So not as clear as the others, including ours, which is interesting. That's definitely the yeast, which is really cool. I know that he cold crashed out like in his kind of den area, the mud room, you could probably call it, where people kind of take off their shoes. But I'm really intrigued to get a smell on this. The color looks similar. The bubbles are small, but they are shooting up there. So I know that this is definitely adequately carbonated. So let's get a nosy nose, huh? Oh, interesting. Pineapple dipped in liquid malt. He's a all-grain homebrewer, but I don't know if when you started homebrewing, if you started doing partial or if you just did extract, but the liquid malt, it's as if you took like a pineapple, just kind of cut the outside so you just saw the flesh and just by the top just dipped it in some liquid malt. Getting some really interesting aromas of plum. Fruit, definitely fruity. And that is the yeast through and through. I mean, that Berserker yeast, I couldn't, like I mentioned, I couldn't find much online from Manical for the Berserker. When they release these yeasts, what I know about Manical is that they sell out quick within minutes. Sometimes, a half an hour, they sell out like that, and then they take it off the website. Brandon and I like Maniacal's products. We've brewed a couple. We did a New England IPA with one, but it ended up clearing out for some reason, so that was probably our fault. That yeast was probably pretty highly flocculating, and we, obviously with a New England IPA, you want one that's low on that end. You can really smell the grain bill coming through. It's got a little bit of bitterness on the back end of the smell. Pear, like overripe pear, possibly. But it's really got an interesting pineapple tone on there. Some really nice, I'm not getting much citrus at all on the nose. It's really tropical, which is great because this beer was supposed to be like a West Coast style IPA. I think the smell is probably leaning a little bit more towards New England IPA, but I'm actually really intrigued. I can't wait to dig in. Cheers. All right, so there seems to be this lingering bitterness that kind of goes throughout the beer, which is interesting. Usually with this style, maybe you see it on the middle to back end, but the bitterness kind of really takes its time going through, and it takes a while to wash off the palate, which I don't necessarily mind. I think that this beer, the nose is probably a little bit better than the taste. The nose really has some really nice pineapple undertones and some really nice mango and some of those kind of classic tropical fruits. But you know what? I really enjoy the malt. The malts on this are really nice, and they're subdued because the bitterness is kind of, this isn't the right term, but the bitterness is kind of fighting with the malts, but that's actually something that I enjoy. I would probably think that if you lowered the bitterness and kind of, that would amplify the malts even more, which for this style would be really nice. It's really smooth. For the bitterness, the level of bitterness it has, it's really smooth throughout. And it lingers, but you're not drinking a warhead. It's not so bitter and sour that you can't handle it. I mean, oh yeah. Oh, I feel like, once you get used to that bitterness is when that malt really shines. I really feel like with this beer, this is something that is truly something you can sit down with and take your time drinking in the living room while you watch TV. I'm having this at a little bit colder than room temp. I think if I were to have it colder, it would probably mask a lot of that bitterness, but in the same breath, it would probably mask a lot of that malt characteristic as well. In terms of the hops, I'm not really getting any hop characteristics. I think the malt and the yeast really kind of take over in this aspect along with the bitterness. But I am going to absolutely kill this thing. So Jerry, Gary, we've been on lockdown here at the Lesagore compound for the whole week, leading into last week as well. So all the names just start to meld together. Hopefully we see more of these videos come out from everyone. I know, as I mentioned, Brandon and I will be doing our own. Take your time. My advice to the participants in this yeast experiment: take your time. Enjoy the beers. Give them their just due on video. Don't run through them, 3 to 5 minutes if you can avoid it. Try to take your time drinking the beer, smelling it, explaining it, because, we all took our time to brew it, and it would be nice to hear everybody's thoughts in long form if possible. But otherwise, cheers to everyone. Have yourselves an amazing weekend. It's Friday here. Brandon and I are hoping to get together for a brew day soon. Speaking of brew days, I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but that is our yeast starter for a brew day that I'm doing tomorrow. So brewing a pale ale with the rest of whatever we have left over in the pantry for base grains and things like that. We have plenty of hops. But yeah, so cheers to everyone, and enjoy.